I just faced a father's worst nightmare. The kind of scene you only see in a fever dream or a cop show, except this was my life. And the villain wasn't a stranger, but the HOA president herself kicking in my front door at dawn with a bunch of goons waving some half-baked court orders she'd probably whipped up after a little too much wine the night before, her reason for shoving her way past me, past my wife, and heading straight for my 3-day-old daughter's crib. Rescuing my child. She called it, though the only thing truly getting tested that morning was my self-control not to break her jaw right then and there. Yeah, that happened. And if you're wondering how I got here, well, let me back up a sec. The first thing I remember is Grace, my newborn, letting out this piercing cry, sharp enough to cut glass right next to our bed. And for a split second, I thought it was just one of those newborn startles. But then, boom, the front door, the one I'd just painted sky blue, blown off its hinges so hard it nearly took the wall with it. Drywall dust hanging in the air. And I remember thinking stupidly, guess I'll be patching that up. Then, reality hit shouts from the hallway, boots stomping down the hardwood, and a woman's voice, shrill, smug, calling out, "Child Protective Services. We have a warrant. Stay where you are." But I already knew that voice, the same one that loved to nitpick mailbox colors and grass height. Only now she was backed up by 3 big guys in bargain bin tactical gear and a scrawny cameraman, the red light blinking as he filmed my nightmare for her scrapbook. I put myself between my wife Kylie, who is barely out of the hospital, C-section stitches still raw, and the door, just like every old drill told me, trying to block her from whatever was coming. But the look in her eyes, pure terror clutching the bed sheets, trying not to cry out in pain, will haunt me forever. Karen Lowe, the queen of the HOA, strutted in like a cartoon villain, hair lacquered into a helmet, lips twisted in this triumphant smirk, waving a piece of paper for the camera. "This is a court order signed by a judge. We're taking custody of your child." The cameraman zoomed in. Kylie started sobbing. Grace wailed louder, and all I could hear was the word rescue echoing in my skull like an insult. Then her goons went for the bassinet, one unfolding a gurney, 2 more reaching for my daughter. And that was it. That was the line the old training took over, heart pounding but hand steady. And I saw the room as a battleground oak chair by the window. Heavy lamp base, everything. A potential weapon, every angle mapped in my mind. "Get away from her," I heard myself say, low and dangerous, but Karen just laughed. "Don't listen to him, he's all talk." "Get the baby!" And the first goon reached in just as time seemed to slow. Kylie's eyes wide, the camera blinking, Karen grinning. I moved, grabbed the chair, swung it cracked straight into a helmet, visor, plastic, shattering goon down. Then I was on the next one, shoulder first, wrist twisted until I heard something pop and he hit the ground screaming. The third bigger one with the gurney tried to charge, but I sidestepped, tripped him, sent him sprawling face first. 3 men neutralized in maybe 5 seconds flat. The cameraman just froze, lens pointed at the chaos, catching every second of my rampage. My hands were shaking, knuckles bloody, but I kicked the taser away, turned to Karen. "Get out of my house," but that's when the sirens cut through flashing lights outside, 2 sheriff's deputies with guns drawn, bursting in, screaming for me to get on the ground. I knew Karen had set this up, called them in, painted me as the violent vet, told them I'd resist. And now here I was, cuffed, helpless Karen, smirking for her camera, telling the cops violent, unstable, just like I warned you. Now secure the child, before he hurt someone else. They moved Kylie, still in her hospital gown, onto that awful gurney, my baby pushed out to the front walk for the world to see, Karen clawing at Grace cameraman, jogging for the money shot. Meanwhile, I was trapped in cuffs, my whole life unraveling. But what Karen didn't know, what nobody in that house knew, was that every single camera on my property, from the doorbell to the little ones in the eaves, was streaming straight to a secure server watched by a couple of old friends. The kind of friends who don't just call the cops. They are the cops, the real deal. And even as they shoved me out the door, I knew help was already in motion. All that chaos, It was just the end of a road that started months ago, back when Kylie and I first bought this little bungalow on Oakwood Creek, dreaming of a boring, peaceful life. A backyard for a dog, a nursery for our future kid neighbors like Fred the widower. 2 doors down, always ready with a joke or a warning about dandelions. Fred was the first to welcome us and the first to warn us about Karen. She takes the queen bee thing real serious, he'd said. She measures grass with a ruler. Watch yourself. I laughed it off. How bad could one clipboard-wielding HOA president really be? But within a week, we got our first violation, a formal warning about Kylie's grandmother's garden gnome. Then came the fines for trash cans, for mulch, for a porch swing, even the color of our nursery walls. Each ridiculous, each meant to grind us down. I tried talking to her once at the HOA barbecue, but she cut me off. The rules are the rules. Maybe you picked the wrong neighborhood. She bullied, threatened, made families leave, and when Kylie got pregnant, the harassment ramped up until her blood pressure spiked. The doctor warned us to avoid stress, but how could we? Every window, every day, it felt like Karen was out there circling, just waiting for us to slip up. When a real estate developer, a snake in a fancy suit, showed up on our porch waving a generous offer, barely more than we'd paid, he made it clear Karen was behind it, pushing for a condo project that needed our lot, and if we wouldn't sell, things would get ugly. And they did. More violations, more fines, more harassment. I tried confronting her, demanded she stop, but she just smiled. Some people have to learn the hard way. That was the moment I knew I'd declared war without meaning to, and Karen was the kind of enemy who fought dirty. I started documenting everything, every notice, every interaction, every violation, photos, timestamps, the whole 9 yards, upgraded the security cameras everywhere, footage streaming to the cloud. Fred, it turned out, was my unofficial intelligence guy, feeding me the neighborhood gossip, telling me how Karen had ruined lives, destroyed his own son's landscaping business over a petty grudge, driven the boy to bankruptcy, and worse. She's a shark that smells blood, Fred said. Don't let her destroy you too. When Grace was born, I thought maybe we'd get a ceasefire peace for a newborn, you know. But her silence was just a setup. That raid. The fake CPS warrant, the camera crew, the goons. It was Karen's final play, an attempt to paint me as a dangerous vet and Kylie as an unfit mom so they could seize the house through the courts, clear the way for their dirty real estate deal. Only she didn't count on my old team showing up, Rick and his county SWAT, real Navy trained, not rent-a-cops flashbangs, arrests, Karen in cuffs, the whole circus on camera, the whole mess blowing up in her face. But just when I thought we'd won, she was back out. Her lawyer husband posting bail, the DA stalling local media, painting her as the victim, twisting my military record, calling Kylie unstable. The internet piling on it felt like losing everything, even after winning the fight. I wanted to give up, run, sell the house, and disappear, but Fred's story about his son hit home. Karen wasn't just a bully, she was a destroyer, a killer in a pantsuit, and she'd keep going until she won. That night, after Kylie begged me to run, I called in a favor from an old friend, a digital ghost, and we started digging. What we found was a hornet's nest. Karen using the HOA as a slush fund, her husband laundering money through the development company blackmail files on half the city government, including the DA. Turns out Karen's power came from secrets, not just cash, and her web of corruption was deeper than anyone knew. But then Fred handed me the family ledger. Decades of handwritten confessions, blackmail, hush money, everything right there in ink, even tying the DA's father to a hit and run. That was the real bombshell, the thing that could blow the whole mess wide open, but it meant we couldn't go to the local cops or the state. We had to go straight to the feds. So we set a trap, baited Karen with a fake surrender, offered to sell her the house, let her gloat, let her confess on tape, all while the FBI sat in a van down the street. The second she started bragging about blackmail, the door burst open, agents and windbreakers swarming, and Karen and her husband in cuffs for racketeering, fraud, money laundering. As they were led out, the whole room silent except for the rain, I caught Karen's eye one last time, a look of pure, beaten, venomous hate. She'd lost. For good. 6 months later, I'm on my porch swing. Yeah, the one Karen once fined me for rocking Grace in my arms, watching the sunset over a street that finally feels like home. Kylie's beside me, smiling. Really smiling. Neighbors are out, kids laughing. Fred's the new association president, and the old community center is now a garden with a bench for Michael and everyone else. Karen hurt. The DA's gone, half the city government cleaned out, the HOA dissolved, and for once, peace actually feels real. But sometimes I catch myself thinking, was it really over? Or is the next monster already waiting in the wings? How far would you go to defend your family, your home? For me, the answer's simple. You go as far as you have to. You fight with everything you've got. And you don't stop till it's safe. That's what I learned here. Peace isn't something you're given. It's something you fight for, build for, bleed for. And sometimes you have to burn the old world down to make room for something better. So now it's your turn. Where's the line for you? Would you fight or would you run? Go ahead, let me know, because trust me, there's always someone like Karen just waiting for a new target.